Okay, so looking at this now, we've got this piece. This is the same kind of deal here. We need to make sure it's kind of flattened and curving in. And we're gonna do, what we're gonna do is just delete half of it and start on that. So this is gonna be one of those cases where I actually leave the everything unhidden because I need to make sure that the shape I'm getting is what I want. So we're gonna go ahead and scale it flat. Looks like it already is. We're going to rotate it out to give us the pinch that we want, and we're going to rotate it inward. So we're just kind of shaping it to match up with this body point here. So that's pretty good right there. I think it needs a little bit more rotation. Kind of hard to tell there, but I think that should match up pretty good. Now we need to look at the side view and kind of match up the points. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these and just kind of readjust because we're looking kind of not super straight here. Okay, so, and this is where this changes actually because there's a curve here. So we're going to redo some of our setup there. There we go. That's looking pretty awesome. Okay. This needs to sit inside. So we want to make sure we're trying to match up this sort of channel that we built. That's pretty good. Okay, so now that we know that we have kind of the shape here working, the only thing I'm seeing here is I want that to kind of come in a little bit. I want this to be flat as possible. The issue that I've got now is that there's this weird sort of geometry going on here. And this is something I tend to want to avoid. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift-I and focus on this guy now. So we want to correct some of this bad geometry. And right now it's not possible because we've got all of this kind of flowing through here. So we're going to kind of hover this for a moment. And then we're going to go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. And we're going to split this guy. The purpose of this is to make sure that it stays quadded all around. And this is going to give us a little bit of an extra like face to work with. So all in all, it's actually a pretty good setup. So what we're doing, we'll go edge, bridge, bridge, and you can see we get rid of those harsh points because we don't want to be dealing with those. And from here, we will do a bridge with one division. We're going to have to move this and match it up with the other one. So we'll go into our side view. Just plop it right there. Perfect. Okay. And now we can finish this. So merge that, merge that. Okay, so now we've got this nice quadded out tool or piece that we can add edge loops on, and it's not going to jack up the geometry too badly. So with that completed, we need to start looking at the teeth. So this thing should have teeth in it. So if you're looking at your reference images, it has roughly we're going to call it 12 teeth. So this is going to be a tad bit different. What I want to do is we're going to detach this because we're going to kind of rebuild it. We're going to go to Mesh Tools or Edit Mesh and then detach. All right, so that should be its own separate piece now, but it's not. I'm going to Mesh Tools. Is this going to work? Detach. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this edge loop around here. Just remove all of the selection that we don't need. We're just going to leave that portion. And we're going to go to Edit Mesh and Detach. You can see that cuts it off. We're good there. All right, so what I want to do now is select these. We're going to leave it there, but we're going to do Shift-I on this. That way we can just see this. Okay, so looking at this, we got that separated. So now we need to look at our actual reference image here. So right now, we're not set up properly size-wise. So we're going to go, oops. We're going to select this, go vertex. And we're going to pull these out. That's where we need them. So this part needs to come up here because that's going to be the bottom tooth. We'll have to model this nub in. So let's see. And that should be kind of the top of it. Okay, so if you're looking at your concept art, or if you're looking at your reference material, it'll be kind of hard to see this, but when you're looking at this piece stops right about here. So it's only about yay wide. So it's got 1, 2, 3. So we have 8 teeth. 8 teeth in total. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this guy down a little bit because this top one is the larger portion. And then we're going to look at this here. So if we go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, we're going to go Options. We're going to hit Multiple and change this to 16 because that's going to allow us to get 8. So that should be okay. And then we'll look at how this lines up with the concept art, and you can actually, or with the reference, and you can actually see it lines up pretty well. So what we're going to do now is just kind of finalize this. Oop. We're going to go vertex. We're going to pull this forward. We want this to be right at the edge. I'm going to do that with all of them. We're just going to pretend like those ones are actually there. And then we're starting to get a little off course here, so let's try to wrangle this back in here. Because we want that one even there, which means we got a little uneven somewhere else, which I'm guessing is right about here. So we'll just kind of scale this out and give it a little bit more shape. Okay. This isn't going to be flawless, but it should work out in the end. And then this one is going to be our top tooth. So the top tooth is just kind of like it terminates. So that's where that goes. So what we want now, at a face, we're going to select these interiors. We're going to delete these. You can see how that kind of gives us the teeth that we're looking for. And then what we want is we just kind of want to straighten things out here. So first of all, we'll get this lined up here. Okay, see how that's looking. That's okay. Just want to adjust some of these teeth a little bit. Just straighten them out. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to level everything out, because we don't want anything crooked. Let's go there. Okay. That should be pretty solid. Let's see. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so what I want to do now, we're just going to come through here and straighten all these out. Just so we don't have like weird looking topology going across this thing. And same thing here. We're just gonna select everything, deselect this stuff, we don't need it. Okay, rotate this and scale it flat. Okay, so we're good. We're looking okay there. It's not gonna be perfect, but that's okay. It's actually looking pretty well off. We're gonna go ahead and extrude these guys. Extrude. Go all the way. And then go ahead and finish up these teeth by bridging. And remember, with bridging, you can just hold G, or you can just hit G, and it's going to redo that same tool over and over again as you go. I wish you could select all of them and just bridge all at once, but you can't. Okay, so we have our teeth, those are modeled out. Now the question is how do we add this into our mesh again? So we're gonna isolate just this guy. We're probably gonna delete, let's see, we're gonna go from here, go down. We're gonna delete right up to about, we'll call it, yeah, all the way. So go vertex, we're gonna merge what we have. We're going to target weld, and then we'll do target weld, and let's look at what we have here, right? So we can try to keep this as even as possible. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we merge this one right in the middle, that leaves us with 4 up here and 4 down here. Perfect. Okay. So now we have these extra loops that we have to figure out what to do with. So the question is, what do we want to do? We're going to do not that, mesh tools. We're going to go to insert edge loop. We're going to change back to relative distance. We're going to just add an edge loop in here. That gives us that nice place to go. And we're going to start doing some multi-cuts. So we're going to do a multi-cut to here. It's because we can't actually connect to the points because it's a separate mesh still. Sure. That's boom, boom, boom. We need one more. Okay, boom. Okay, go ahead and target weld those together. Okay, you can see how that carries through. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to go to multi-cut. Enter, 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 and enter. Okay, right. Go ahead and target weld. And I miscounted. So we do have an extra loop down here, so that's a problem. But it's not the worst problem. All right, multi-cut. We're going to target weld and go boom. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start up top. We're going to go to this corner. Actually, no, we're not. So what I want to do is we're going to do another edge loop, insert edge loop. And the reason that's not going across is because we have all these extra, this is an n-gon technically right now. So we'll do a multi-cut because we're manually cutting through our mesh. Okay. So we're going to terminate to that corner. We're going to terminate to that corner. Do the same thing here. And the same thing here. Okay, so that gives us that setup. So the idea here is that we're going to just kind of work these in until we don't need to drag edge loops across. So I'll show you what that means here. So we're just going to keep going. Okay. So looking at this, what we want to do, we're going to term here. We're going to go here. That gives us that. I'm then going to go mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're going to add an edge loop right about here. This is where we're going to terminate to. We're also going to add an edge loop right here. And I'll show you why. So we're going to delete that edge loop. We don't need that. Or that edge. So let's do our multi-cut tool. So we're going to take the multi-cut. We're going to go boom to create a quad. Boom to create a quad. Then we're going to go boom and boom. So we obviously don't want our triangle here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go target weld, vertex. We're going to go right there. We're going to put that triangle right there. And just kind of work with it. We're going to leave that for right now. Then we're going to start doing the same kind of workflow over here. Okay. So we'll go attach to this point, attach to this point. We can leave that one there because we don't need anything there. So that leaves us a quad. It's not the best looking quad, but it's a quad and it's hidden. So we're not super worried about that. Okay, so the other issue we have here is look at this guy. We're gonna go edit mesh, delete edge vertex. It's gonna leave us with a quad. It's kind of a weird one, but it leaves us with one nonetheless. And so the other concern now comes is what do we do about this? We have a triangle, we don't want a triangle, we still want a quad. I'm actually gonna take this edge loop. We're gonna go to delete it. And we're going to cut it back through. So we're going to go boom, boom, and boom, and then right to here. Because that is going to allow us to delete this one and leave a quad. Now when you smooth that, you've got a quad and it's hidden. Okay. So with that said, we're going to go mesh tools, insert edge loop. And we're going to add our supporting edge loop for that portion, which just created something, which is, oh, we didn't go all the way through. My bad. Okay, let's go to mesh tools. We'll cut that real quick. Multi-cut tool. Go there. Escape. And then insert edge loop. We're gonna go boom. And boom. And then we're gonna support this. This is the reason we worked this stuff through, is because we want to be able to add these edge loops. We don't necessarily care about what's in the center here because we don't need to add support there, but those edge loops are what are really important for us to kind of work through. And then we have a small issue up here. That shouldn't be that way, so we're gonna go delete that edge vertex. And we're just gonna redo that. And I think it's probably the same on the bottom. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So we'll just add an edge loop here. And then we'll just go through and add some support to these guys. They don't need a lot of it, just a little bit. And now this should match up to our reference perfectly. So if I smooth it. So the only thing that I'm not getting is I want this sharp cut here. So I'm gonna do mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're gonna just add that. It should give me almost what I want. I'll do the same thing here. And then that does kind of affect this. So we're gonna go through and just drag this down. So it's not providing as much support as it is. We're actually just going to kind of put it in the center there. That way we still get that smooth look. Yeah, and that's not affected at all. Cool, so we got that. And then we look at the front of this. It's matching up pretty well to everything. In fact, it's actually matching up perfectly. So there we have it. That piece is basically done. The only thing I'm not super thrilled about is it's not very rounded. So show isolate view selected. First, let's look. So we really want to make sure this is kind of sitting like this. And then the other issue is that we've got like a little bit of a curve here that needs to be flattened out. So that's good. Okay. So if we go mesh, mirror, on, object, Z, nope, sorry, Y. Oh no, it's Z. Okay, so there's our piece. We hit 3. That's looking pretty great. Okay, so the only thing we have to do now is just add the little lump down here. We're going to add 0 support to that because we want it to be curved. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add an edge loop in here real quick. And just scale it out and round this out a little bit. The only problem I'm seeing is that we're a little large. So it's not exactly working the way I want it to. But it's the right size, which means this is just too large. So I'm gonna go vertex, select everything. And then we're just gonna scale it in. And then we might need to adjust this hole down here a little bit because these teeth are too big, but they match perfectly. So the hole that we're dealing with is just not big enough. That's okay, that's a minor adjustment we can make. So we have that. The only weird thing is that this is no longer matching up. So let's go vertex. Nope. Vertex. And then we're going to take this and move it up to about here. Let's look at this in wireframe. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll just kind of do that. So we have that nice curvature. And then fix this as well. That should be good. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's that. That's the bottom portion of the wrench. We don't have any weirdness going on, I don't think. I think the only issue is that it's not exactly curved at the bottom, so we're gonna do that real quick. We'll just go add these guys. We're gonna do kind of the same process. We're just gonna pull it out a little bit. Okay, and that should look a lot better. It's a little bit pinching. It's pinching just a tad bit, so we'll just spread it out a little bit more. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Still not perfect, but we'll come through and do the final adjustments here in a little bit. So we're looking at this now. The only thing I'm kind of not liking here is just when I know when I smooth this, I'm getting a little bit too much detail there, and I don't want that so much. So we're going to work on smoothing that out real quick. We're going to grab these edges here, and we're just going to move them up a bit and move them out a bit. That should give us a little bit of a smoother look. Yeah, like that. A little bit of pinch up here. We can do the same kind of correction. We'll just scale them out, pull them in, and make sure that that's still looking fine. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. All right, cool. So we've got that. We've got our teeth coming through here. Everything's looking pretty good. The only thing I don't necessarily like is that these teeth are kind of rounding out. So if I go isolate view selected, if I preview smooth, You can see how they're rounding out really badly. And that's not something I want to deal with. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an edge loop here. Smooth. It's going to give us a little bit of a sharper setup there. And then I'm going to try... I don't know if this is going to work the way I want it to, but let's see. No, that's actually it's too squared off. So we're going to nix that. I'm going to nix that too. And then we have an issue right here. What's going on here? Oh, we have an extra vertex here. So let's go ahead and merge that. Shouldn't, oh, we have it everywhere apparently. So we'll merge these, call those good. Yeah, these all did that for some reason. I don't know if this one did though. Yeah. Okay. So if we smooth that now, that actually kind of helped correct the way the teeth were looking, so I'm pretty okay with that. So let's go back to this. So we've got that set up. Now we need to figure out how we're going to add our spiral to the cylinder. This presents a little bit of a problem because we need to make sure that this is actually lining up with those teeth properly. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at this, and we know we need to add 3 spirals to this. So what I wanna do is we're gonna go to our settings here. We're actually going to zero out our rotation. And then from here, we're going to shift I to isolate. We're going to go up to mesh. We're going to, actually, I'm sorry. We're going to go to create, polygon primitive. We're going to go up to create, polygon primitives, and we're going to create a helix. The next part is going to be to center the helix with this portion. So we're going to just center to that. Cool. We'll call that good. And we're going to move it down. So we need to adjust the helix to get to the result that we're looking for. So the first thing that we're going to change here is we're going to look at our radius. So our radius, I'm going to drop it down to about 0.1. It's going to give us kind of a nice thin spring. For our coils, we want 3. We're going to stick with that, and then we're going to adjust our height. So we want to kind of try this. We'll go like 1.5. Really, we just want to get that shape there. And we can also accomplish this by scaling a little bit. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, so we're going to scale this in a little bit. We want to line it up as best we can with the edge here. All right, so we're good there. We're going to kind of try to get that set there. I just want these to stop at either edge of this cylinder, so. Okay, perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the structure of this coil. So we're going to change our subdivision axis to 4. We want that nice sharp kind of thing going on there. We're going to keep it that way. Then with our cylinder, we're going to delete the top and the bottom. We just want the cylinder portion itself because you want to verify that this stuff is on the inside. The other thing I'm going to do, actually before we do that, I'm going to change this. So we look at our helix, right? If you look at the polyhelix settings, we have a subdivision coil of 50. We want to match that with our cylinder. So we're going to go here. We're going to change this to 50. And you'll see now that these line up perfectly with those. That's what we're trying to do here. So now we'll go to the top, delete that face. Oops. Delete that. And we're left with just this stuff. So I'm going to take this top edge and this bottom edge. We're going to slightly extrude it just to give us a little supporting edge loop here. And then the other thing I want to do is take this one and just move this down a bit. Because the way we're going to add this in is going to be a little bit complicated. So if you have everything lined up, we're good to go. So the most important thing here is to make sure that you are intersecting along this. One of the things I try to avoid doing is using Boolean. I don't use booleans because they tend to just really mess up the geometry, but this is one of the ways that I will use them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select both objects. I'm going to go Mesh, Booleans, and Union. This should union them together. The only issue is that we got a really weird result there. Mesh, Boolean, Union. How am I getting that result? There we go. And so one of the things you're going to notice is we have all these little additional edge loops, or these edges that we don't want. So we're going to select both of these. We're going to go Select and Similar. That'll go through and select everything that's similar. We're going to go to Edit Mesh, Delete Edge Vertex to get rid of it. And here we go. So we have our coil added to our little turnkey thing. We should be good to go here. So what I want is if I smooth this, it's going to look terrible. We have all these little extra vertices that just don't make sense. So we're going to go Vertex, select everything. We're going to merge. Shouldn't have to adjust distance threshold too much, but sometimes it helps. Sometimes this doesn't work as well as you would like. You have to do some of these operations a couple times over. It's not a huge deal. There we go. So you can see that selected everything we needed. And we'll select that guy. Okay. And so if we smooth now, that's the result we wanted to. So really what happened was our merge just failed. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bevel this. And we're going to leave it the way it is. We're not really going to adjust it all that much. Okay. So we're cool there. Now the only thing is we have to terminate these edge loops. So what we do is we would have additional coils that we could kind of terminate this to. So this is going to be a little bit of a different setup. So the way we're going to terminate this is we're going to go to multi-cut. We're going to click right about here, go up to this corner, boom. And we're going to do the same thing right about here in this corner, boom. Q escape, 3. So if we look at that now, we've got that nice termination. And everything is a quad except for this guy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points there. So we do have an n-gon that we need to correct. So if we look at this, the easiest way we can do to correct that is to actually just target weld these guys down to this. And then we can take these and slightly pull them back. Slash them down. Okay, Q escape, 3. And now we have perfect quads all around. That's exactly how we want this. We get a nice shape out of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go down to the bottom, do the same exact process. Go Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. Or sorry, Mesh Tools, Multi-Cut. Go Cut, Cut. These are longer polygons, and technically, normally in situations you probably want to avoid them. But we're not super worried about it for this situation. If you are, feel free to find another way to work them into your model. It's really not a big deal. All right, so that's worked in there. We're okay. And then one thing we can do is we can actually just take this and pull it back. And that should give us a nice even transition without the sharp bending that we're seeing here. So we'll hit 3. Okay, much better. Minus this little pinch we have here. And so to deal with that pinch, the easiest way is going to be kind of just to pull this geometry a little bit. Just try to work with it as much as we can. We can take some of this and just pull it up. We don't want to pull that too far though. Ideally, we would have another coil running through here, but for demonstration purposes, this might be the best way to do this. The other option would be is to terminate into a triangle somewhere up here, which is another option. And I'm thinking I actually might do that option because I'm not liking the way this is looking. So what we'll do is we will delete these. We're going to do a multi-cut. We'll go to right about here. We'll spread out. Go right about there. And then edge, edge. Sometimes it's all about just finding what's going to be the best result for you. And in this case, this might be it. Okay. So we want one more point here. And looking at this, we lost a little bit of geometry. And so now the issue is we have a triangle again. And so one thing we can do to kind of mitigate that is we can do another cut. Oops. And we're going to cut right up into this. That's actually going to give us another quad, so we really don't have to worry too much about a triangle there. We can take this face. We're going to do a different bridge. Same thing here. 3. So now that geometry carries through and you have a much cleaner cut to this, and this is what we're going to maintain with. So we'll do the same thing down here just to do what we've been doing. We want to make sure that we're kind of following the same topology all the way around. So we'll go to Mesh Tools, Multi-Cut, and just cut across to right about here. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing. And we'll stop right there. Okay. This does create what's called a kite, but we're not super worried about it, so there's no need to stress about it. Okay. So if we look at that now, so much cleaner, much better. Now we can start looking at this as a new object. So, first thing we need to notice is that if we look at our piece here, we gotta close it off. These are technically hollow. They have a pin that runs through them, so we'll actually just model that detail in. I'm gonna just do one there and one there. Plus it saves us from having to cap this with quads, just because sometimes it's a pain. All right, we will merge this together. Looks like 2 of those didn't want to work, so we'll just merge and merge. That was the only one. Okay. The other thing we need to do is just make sure we're adding our supports, because without them, this model will collapse. So we'll add these supports in here. Okay, so that's our coil piece. Okay. So if we show our wrench now, you'll notice it's not exactly what we want. So what we can do, we can actually select these individual chunks here. So we're gonna actually go Shift I again. We're gonna go face and select all the way through. And then we'll just deselect this junk because we don't need it. This is not what we're gonna modify. And then from here, we can actually scale this up. The plan is here is we've got our coil selected. We're going to extrude it real quick. We're going to scale that extrusion up to give us that nice kind of ridge that we're looking for. And I think I'll go a little bit larger. There we go. And then from here, we'll select our coil. All right, so you may be wondering, now that we have this edge loop going through this, how on earth do we scale this? Because if we scale this with a normal scale tool, it's just not gonna work. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna select our entire edge loop. You're gonna hold Control and then middle mouse drag until you have the desired result. And there we go, beautiful. So this is where we are. And if you smooth this, you notice we're starting to get that look that we want. So show ISO view selected. So it's looking much better. Those teeth are going to interact much better with this. Now we will just rotate this. And we have to do a little bit of scaling to get this perfect, but should work. In fact, what I want to do is I want to go, I want to change this to wireframe and just get this lined up as best as we can. So we're looking pretty solid. We're almost perfect there. I think our teeth are probably just a little bit shifted up. Let's see here. So we're good there. Looking pretty awesome. I think the only thing is that I just want this to be a little bit larger. The only issue is that we're running into some issues with the geometry colliding with things. So what we can do is we can back off a little bit on these teeth, which I kind of figured was going to need to happen anyway. So we're going to select all these. just gonna pull them in a little bit, just to give some space. That still gives us the teeth that we need. We can smooth it. Okay, we're good there. That's looking awesome. The only other thing that I'm seeing that I don't really like is that we currently don't have like a center rod supporting this. So we're gonna make that real quick. We're gonna just scale these out using that Control Plus method. And then I'm just gonna select this edge loop here. And then we're gonna just extrude these very little. There we go. And turn off our isolate selection just to see what that's looking like. Perfect. Okay, so now that has like a reason for existing. And then the only other thing I'm seeing here is that I've got too much clashing down here. So I'm gonna take this edge loop down here, this object loop, this face loop, if you will, and just kind of move it up. I'm gonna do a little bit of tweaking here just to get this to kind of match a little bit better. And I think what I want to do is just add one more edge loop here and one here, just to kind of reframe that. And then we go. Okay. So the only thing we have left to do is add little teeth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift I again. We're going to select all of these little guys. And you can see this isn't really working super well. We've got some weird loops going on. It is just because of the way we set up our geometry. So we're going to have to kind of force our hand here. There we go. So we'll just deselect everything we don't need. And it looks like we have a little bit of a screw up there. We'll fix that in a second here. And then I'm going to leave that one alone. So I don't want that one. So we're just going to try to get everything selected here that we need. And then if you're deselecting anything, just make sure you reselect it. Okay. Shouldn't have any other issues. We did deselect a couple of things. We'll do this. Okay. So it looks like we're okay. So we're going to go ahead and do an extrude. We're going to turn it off, keep faces together. I'm going to pull it out and then just kind of do this number. And then just to make this easy on ourselves, we're actually, hold on. So we're going to extrude out a little bit. Go G, extrude out again. Scale it inwards, and then go one more time to give us that pre-built support. Cool. So if I smooth that now, you get those little ridges that you would grab or you would use. The only issue is that they're sticking out a little bit far from me. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just reduce the amount that we did that. Make sure I still have everything selected. Okay. Let's do that one more time. So we're just not going to go out as far. Make sure that that keep faces together is off. And then that should give us a little bit of a better result. It does. Okay, cool. So the only thing is that mesh tools, insert edge loop. I'm hoping I can just drag an edge loop. Yeah, this will be kind of the difficult part. Is it going to allow me to do this? It's really not going to because of the way we set up our topology. So the question then becomes is how do we want to fix this? First of all, let's adjust some of this going on here. We have some knurled up geometry here that we don't want to be all trashy. So we'll clean this up real quick. And then the same thing here. I want this guy just kind of like that. So one thing I could do, and I think I actually might, is I can just go mesh tools, multi-cut, and then I can just go boom, boom, and then right up here, and then just kind of work my way down. I do believe this has to be in view though. It does. So we'll just select to there, select to here, and I want to see how far that'll let me go. Okay, cool. So I can start working my way down a little bit faster. And this will be the most manual portion of this. But we're doing this to give us kind of a square looking tooth instead of that little rounded nub that we're getting. And thankfully we don't have a lot of loops to do this to. So, but secondarily, we should be able to just add that edge loop, I think, with the next one. So we're just going to work our way through this. Should be. Okay. So we can't go too far, apparently. Yeah, definitely can't go too far. Okay. We're getting closer. Maya's having a hard time drawing some of this. That's okay. So this is going to be probably the most tedious part of this. If we set up our geometry a little bit better, we could probably just do an edge loop through. But with this one, it's just going to, it would be kind of a big use of time that I'm not looking forward to. That, and this really isn't that bad when we're talking about modeling something so simple. Okay, we want to make sure we're avoiding that because that's a problem. So we need to make sure that we haven't been doing that real quick here. Looks like we're okay as long as we don't stray too far. And if you know of a better automated way to do this, let me know in the comments, because maybe I don't know something. Maybe I don't know that there is an easier way to do this and I'm just wasting my time. That's okay too. I'm still learning just as much as some of you guys are, so when it comes down to it, I am not opposed to being told that I'm doing something wrong. Okay, and then we're going to terminate right here. Okay, enter, Q escape. Let's fix this real quick because it looks terrible. Okay, we kind of just smashed our geometry up a little bit down here, and that's fine. It happens. Okay, pretty good there. Okay, so if we do Q3, still have a pinch going on here. We're gonna fix that real quick. Oops, jumped into UV mode. Okay, so we'll fix this pinch. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now what I want to do, mesh tools, insert edge loop. Ooh, that almost worked. Almost. But it didn't. But we can get away with it, so we'll just find where that fails and fix it. Where's it failing at? Right here. Perfect. All right. So we'll Q escape. We're going to go edge. We're going to just delete these extra edges that we created. We don't need them. And we'll just kind of resurface this real quick. So we want this to go right here. All right, so we're going to go Mesh Tools, Delete Edge Vertex. We're going to target weld this guy. And then we're going to go back, see where our failure was right here. So we're going to do a multi-cut. We'll just go boom and boom. That solves that one. And we had another one up here too. Where are you? Probably find it easier when it's smoothed. It'll be a little bit more glaring. Let's see. I'm not seeing it so far. Which is odd because I know it's there. It's okay. I can just do this. Select that and see where it ends. Right up here. Okay, here's where the error is. Cool. So we have this guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a multi-cut. We're going to go boom, 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 and then boom. Should fix that. Topology-wise, this probably isn't the best example, but, you know, you can go through and clean it up the way you want to. It's not a big deal. But the important thing here is, like, we're getting the look that we want. So I'm going to go like this, delete this guy because we don't need him. Delete his vertex, and then we're going to target weld this guy right here to there. It does create a triangle. I'm not trying to like perfectly avoid them, but now we've got those nice tips that we were looking for. The only thing I'm not in love with is this area. So we have this weird pinching going on here. I just need to do a surface slide. I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit because just right now it's just not working for me. Just try to smooth this out as best as possible. 3. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. One of the things we can do too is, and this is a tool that I'll use kind of lightly, but we can go into our sculpting tools. And we should have a smooth tool. So you can just kind of, we need to change that because that's not right. Change the size to about 0.5. Should be able to see it. It's they're a little large. We'll go to like 100. Okay, and we can just smooth that a little bit. And that should hopefully kind of clean it up. All right, back to polymoning. Yeah, see, that's much better. Okay, so the last thing is we still got some weirdness going on here. Let's clean that up. Go back to our selection constraint. We are on surface, so this should be okay. I see what happened here. Okay, we just kind of squeezed a little bit too much. Much better. All right, so if we go show, actually let's go, hold on. Mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're gonna support these real quick because we want these to show. Okay. And there we go. So I know that was a longer tutorial. I know that was a little bit more complicated than you probably thought it was going to be. Sometimes these shapes can be difficult to do, especially when you're talking about adding an existing coil into something. Sometimes the geometry doesn't want to work with you. Things just don't work the way they're supposed to. And especially when it comes to adding edge loops, that can be kind of difficult. So there was a lot of manual tweaking there, but it is going to be helpful to understand some of those techniques for the manual tweaking, because when you run into a situation where you can't exactly get something to work the automated direction, you need to find ways to do it manually. So With that said, this tutorial is done. You have successfully modeled the wrench. In the next one, we're going to UV the wrench, and we're going to get it into Substance Painter. We're probably not going to texture it in that tutorial. It depends on how long it runs, but be ready to get your object set up. And if you don't have Substance Painter, make sure you're ready to go with that. But with that said, thank you so much for hanging out. I know this was a long one, but I appreciate you for being here. And if you haven't yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.